Ok, bonjour tout le monde. Avec le secrétaire Pompeo, j'ai discuté de la situation au Venezuela et de ce que nous pouvons continuer à faire pour soutenir le peuple du Venezuela. Nous avons également discuté du processus de ratification de l'ALENA et surtout des détentions arbitraires de Michael Kovrig et Michael Spavor. Hier, j'ai également rencontré l'ambassadeur Lighthizer pour discuter de nos processus de ratification respectifs. Et plus tard, j'ai discuté avec le membre du Congrès, Kevin Brady, et d'autres républicains de la Chambre du processus de ratification du nouvel accord de libre-échange nord-américain. Aujourd'hui, j'ai rencontré le sénateur Bob Menendez, haut responsable du comité sénatorial des relations extérieures, comité sénatorial des finances. J'ai aussi discuté avec mes collègues américains les préparations que le Canada fait pour la conférence sur les réformes en Ukraine. So it has been 2 busy and productive days in Washington. Yesterday, I met with Secretary Pompeo. We discussed many issues, including the situation in Venezuela, countries, and of course the arbitrary detentions of Michael Kovrig and Michael Spavor. I had a very good meeting with Ambassador Lighthizer. We chiefly spoke about the ratification process in our respective countries of the new NAFTA. I also met with Kevin Brady and a group of congressional Republicans to talk about NAFTA ratification. And then today I've had meetings with Senator Menendez. We talked about a number of international issues, including Venezuela, Ukraine, China. And then I had a very good meeting with Senator Chuck Grassley. I thanked him for his really hard work on getting the 232 tariffs lifted. And we spoke about the NAFTA ratification process in our 2 countries. I've also had discussions here with our American counterparts about preparations for the Ukraine Reform Conference, which Canada will host in Toronto next month. And I'm happy to answer your questions.
What do you think of, can you Jean Chrétien, oh sorry, in case I can't project my voice well enough. Jean Chrétien has said that apparently he's telling business groups that he thinks it would be a good idea if Canada just withdrew these charges against Meng Wanzhou, to get China to stop stomping on us or whatever. Do you think that would be a good idea? Would that set a good precedent to kind of give in to this sort of bullying?
I like your leading question, Adrian. So look, let me start by saying that Prime Minister Chrétien is a really great Canadian. He is someone with whom I have spoken often, especially since the election. And as foreign minister, I have reflected a lot on what I think is one of his really great truly great decisions, which was the decision for Canada not to participate in the war in Iraq. It's a decision I've always admired, but since beginning to do this job, I have had a better sense than you can have when you don't do this job of how difficult it must have been to make that decision. And history has shown Prime Minister Chrétien to have been absolutely right. Having said that, on this particular issue, my view, our government's view, continues to be as follows. When it comes to the extradition request for around Ms. Meng, Canada has very carefully and intentionally abided by our extradition treaty commitments. We are a rule of law country, and rule of law is not something you can pick and choose. Either you are a rule of law country or you are not. When it comes to Ms. Meng, there has been no political interference. This has been entirely about officials taking decisions according to Canada's commitments, and that is the right way for extradition requests to proceed. As Canadians know very well, her case is now before the courts. That is where they should be. She has excellent lawyers and full access to Canada's due process, which is also absolutely right and correct. I have tremendous faith and confidence in Canadian courts. Ms. Meng and her lawyers will have a chance to make their case, and I have complete confidence that the courts will make a right and fair decision. I'd also like to say on this particular issue that as a country, as a government, we need to be very thoughtful and very mindful of precedents that our actions and our decisions set. And I think when we reflect on it, it will be clear to all of us that it would be a very dangerous precedent indeed for Canada to alter its behavior when it comes to honoring an extradition treaty in response to external pressure. And I think when we think about the implications of setting such a precedent, we could easily find ourselves in a situation where, by acting in a single specific case, we could actually make all Canadians around the world less safe. And that is a responsibility that I take very seriously. Thank you.
If I could just follow up on Adrian's question. So you've closed the door on Prime Minister Chrétien's proposal to cancel the extradition, but are you open to having him as a special envoy to China?
That is really a decision for the Prime Minister. As I said, I have tremendous respect for Prime Minister Chrétien for some of the remarkable things he did as Prime Minister. And I really believe in learning from our elders. I think that's something that I try to do. I have a real respect for all former Canadian Prime Ministers, and I try to talk to all of them. When it comes to China, this is a really difficult situation, and our government's priority, and this was very much reflected in the conversations I have been having over the past 2 days, is the welfare of Michael Kovrig and Michael Spavor. They are arbitrarily detained. I am in really close touch with their families. I get the consular reports. I do want to say about them personally that I just have tremendous respect for both of them. Each one is conducting himself with real grace, with real dignity, showing tremendous resilience in difficult circumstances. I want them to know, and our diplomats share this with them in the consular visits, that they are top of mind for our whole government, for the Prime Minister, for me. We raise them in all appropriate meetings. We're going to continue to do that. And I do want to say one more thing, which is just to say how deep my sympathy is for the Kovrig and Spavor families. I think all of us can imagine how difficult this situation is for them, and those two families are also behaving with tremendous grace, with tremendous resilience.
Madame Freeland, donc il en sera question nécessairement lors de cette rencontre entre M. Trudeau, M. Trump, de ce dossier-là. Qu'est-ce que le président Trump peut faire, outre laisser tomber la demande d'extradition entre les États-Unis et le Canada?
Je pense que c'est une question pour le président Trump, mais merci pour la question. Et on a annoncé aujourd'hui que dans une semaine, le Premier ministre sera ici pour une visite avec le président. J'ai aussi discuté la visite. Nous avons commencé de travailler sur les enjeux qu'on va discuter avec le secrétaire Pompeo et aussi avec l'ambassadeur Lighthizer. Je pense que ce sera une visite importante. Ce sera la première fois que le président et le Premier ministre seront ensemble après le lever des tarifs de 132. Et je pense que c'est très bon qu'ils auront une opportunité de discuter beaucoup d'enjeux. Les processus de ratification du nouvel ALENA, évidemment, mais aussi on va discuter la situation en Venezuela, on va discuter l'Ukraine et on va discuter la Chine et on va continuer le travail que j'ai fait aujourd'hui et hier concernant la situation de Michael Kovrig et Michael Spavor.
Je comprends que vous ne pouvez pas parler pour eux, pour les Américains, mais quelles sont vos attentes? Comment les Américains, président Trump en particulier, pourraient-ils vous aider? On sait que les contacts sont difficiles entre le Canada et la Chine. On en a eu des rappels. Est-ce que, par exemple, M. Trump pourrait vous aider en rencontrant le président chinois au G20 dans l'éventualité où il n'y aurait pas de rencontre entre M. Trudeau et M. Xi?
Comme j'ai dit, je suis certaine que les deux leaders vont discuter la Chine et qu'ils vont discuter les détentions arbitraires de Michael Kovrig et Michael Spavor. Nous encourageons tous nos partenaires, tous nos alliés, et je le fais encore une fois aujourd'hui et hier, de soulever la situation de Michael Kovrig et Michael Spavor dans toutes ces conversations avec les Chinois. Je veux souligner le fait qu'un grand groupe de pays, un grand groupe de nos partenaires ont publiquement soulever cet enjeu. C'est l'Australie, l'Union européenne, la France, l'Allemagne, la Grande-Bretagne, les États-Unis, les Pays-Bas, la Latvie, Lettonie, l'Estonie, l'Espagne, le Danemark, l'OTAN et le G7. Et ce sont seulement les pays qui ont publiquement soulevé cet enjeu. Il y a un plus grand groupe des pays, nos alliés, qui ont soulevé l'enjeu dans ces conversations privées avec la Chine. Et les États-Unis est une de ces pays. Je pense que le fait que le Canada a réussi en organisant une si grande coalition des pays est un moment important et nous allons continuer ce travail.
Minister Freeland, you've said that you'd like to move Canada's USMCA CUSMA bill in tandem with the United States to the greatest extent possible. Did you learn anything during your trip here that would supplement that reflection?
Well, I learned a lot of things on the trip here, and it has been really useful to get a lot of different, much more detailed perspectives on how the domestic ratification process is working in the United States. And our American partners were very interested in a great level of detail about how the Canadian domestic ratification process will work. I found myself explaining what a WRIT is, exactly how our Senate works, etc. So I think there's a lot of mutual interest in our legislative processes and the ratification, and that's a good thing. We are moving ahead. And I do also want to emphasize this is a conversation we're having with Mexico. Earlier this week, I had a very good conversation over the phone with Marcelo Ebrard, the Mexican foreign minister. So all three countries are coordinating with each other. The conversations I had today, including with Senator Grassley just now, have been really helpful. I think it's been helpful also for our American partners to understand better the Canadian process, to understand how clear and strong the Canadian intent is to move forward with NAFTA ratification. So we were able to communicate that. And, I feel after the meetings that we've had today and yesterday, very comfortable with our approach, which is we are moving ahead with NAFTA ratification. Second reading began this week. I gave a speech in the House, moving things forward. So we're moving ahead. I think we're on the right track, and I think it is absolutely the right approach for Canada to intend to move in tandem with our partners